Phew. Thank you very much. And welcome to Cats and Dogs here on Press TV with me, Len Potopic, where we take a look at the continuing adventures of the oldest man in America. By tradition, US presidents do their best to be friendly before elections. They smile, they tell stories, and they hug people. In fact, some of them hug people a little bit too much. Isn't that right, Joe? But that's a story for another time. Anyway, for a few glorious weeks, presidents seem so compassionate, so kind, and they vow to free the world. And all they want from Americans in return is their vote. Jolly Joe Biden also put freedom center stage. But whose freedom? Watch this.
Don't worry, we're going to free Iran. They're going to free themselves pretty soon.
Yes, he really did say, don't worry, we're going to free Iran. They're going to free themselves pretty soon. What? Who's going to free Iran? Biden? Biden and his carers, which is a pretty big team, to be fair. After that, he said, we're going to free Iran. He said, they're going. All right, who's they? Biden and his imaginary friends, which is an even bigger team than his care workers, to be fair, a kind of ghost army. And did you hear the roar of that crowd? It's almost like Biden promised to do something useful, like taking control of sky-high inflation or taking his pills. And then he was talking about the burn pits in Iraq and Afghanistan that caused brain injuries in American soldiers. It's also mixed up, brain injuries and freeing Iran. Take a look at that video again.
A lot of our soldiers, more people are coming back from Iraq, Afghanistan, with serious brain injuries and tumors than any other war in American history. Other than the Civil War, more amputees are coming back than in any wars in American history. And those burn pits, don't worry, we're going to free Iran. They're going to free themselves pretty soon.
The Democrats definitely suffered in the election thanks to Biden's creative storytelling. It's like, to save the Democrats in the election, Biden was proposing more war. And as usual, John Kirby, the massively overworked communications coordinator at the National Security Council, rushed in to redefine Biden's random ramblings with something like, Biden was voicing support for the protest movement and not signaling a new approach. Or, he was expressing, again, our solidarity with them. Or, again, please don't take him seriously. Or even, don't ask Kamala Harris, she's even worse than him, and she doesn't even have an excuse. These election results suggest that each time Biden speaks, Democrats drift away. Hey, Biden's back in the war mode again. If I want us to lose another war, I'll vote for the people who really know how to lose, the Republicans. Remember, back in 2016, when Biden was US Vice President, he also planned to free Iran.
A new video just into CNN. It's from the Iranian news agency, and it shows our American sailors being turned over to American authorities. These are the 10 Navy sailors whose boat drifted into Iranian waters, supposedly illegal waters. The Iranians took them into custody and held them overnight for nearly a day. You can see the sailors sitting there, and you can see the Iranians, I would suppose, looking at these Americans' passports.
One note about the video you're seeing there, and again, as you say, sourced to Iranian TV, that appears to be the moment of capture when those sailors were there on their knees, as you see in the video, with their hands up or their hands behind their head. Really not a pretty picture to see.
How many wars does this guy want to lose? On the other hand, he's only following a proud US tradition. Incidentally, that wasn't Biden's only slip in those short 24 hours. Have a look at this.
And they talk about inflation. You know, we're dealing with it for a whole second. Inflation is a worldwide problem right now because of a war in Iraq and the impact on oil and what Russia's doing. The war in Ukraine. And think of Iraq because that's where my son died. Because he died.
Yes, he really did say inflation is only because of the Iraq war. Ukraine. I guess they're quite similar places, really. They both start with a vowel, and they're both somewhere in Europe or Africa or Narnia or Middle Earth or something. And that's not all. He keeps making errors like that because my son died in Iraq. But the thing is, he didn't. Biden's son served in Iraq, but died in America. Tragic, but true. Wrong country, wrong call. Not surprisingly, the American electorate went to the polls and sent, let's just call it, a little message to the president, as we all saw in the midterm election results of the 8th of November. Biden's still in office, but whether, based on his performance in these recent elections, he'll stand again for president is one of the great questions of our time. I'm not a doctor, but you've got to wonder how fit a man is to run the richest nation in the world when his handlers are doing overtime and the president himself seems to shake hands with ghosts.
So many of you know so much about this as well, and you're committed. And I want to thank all of you here for including bipartisan elected officials like Representative Governor, Senator Braun, Senator Booker, Representative Jackie. Are you here? Where's Jackie? I didn't think she was going to be here.
Event today, the president appeared to look around the room for an audience member, a member of Congress who passed away last month. He seemed to indicate she might be in the room.
In yet another gaffe-filled speech, Biden said he talked with the inventor of insulin. Although no one knows exactly how old Biden really is, officially speaking, the inventors of insulin, Sir Frederick Banting and Professor John McLeod, died before Biden was even born.
How many of you know somebody with diabetes who needs insulin? Of course. It was invented by a man who did not patent it because he wanted it available for everyone. I spoke to him.
Oh, and on the subject of war, we've now learned Biden shouted at the Ukrainian president during a tricky phone call. The angry exchange happened in June when Biden called Zelensky to tell him he'd secured $1 billion extra in defense and humanitarian funding for the country. Biden thought Zelensky didn't express enough gratitude and began listing more things his country needed. Biden then raised his voice, possibly with a loudspeaker so that the Ukrainian president could really hear him properly, saying America was already being very generous. Now remember, Biden can recall the days he could buy a whole country for $1. Want to know how Ukraine is spending the $19 billion they've already got from Washington? Watch what happens when this Ukrainian drone drops a bomb on a Russian soldier. Yes, he literally caught the bomb and threw it away. That takes a lot of guts and even more luck. Ukraine apparently also asked FIFA to replace Iran with its own national team, all because of the war. So what really is going on in the mind of the Ukraine Supremo? Let's find out in yet another Cats and Dogs exclusive interview. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the phone the Ukrainian President, Volodymyr Zelensky. Mr. President, thanks for giving us this interview here on Cats and Dogs.
I tell you, we don't need interviews, we need weapons.
Well, actually, I don't really think I can supply weapons.
This is so selfish. You're worse than Biden.
No, Cats and Dogs is a TV show, not a country.
That's what they all say.
Well, I'm actually not sure that's true.
If we lose, it'll be all your fault.
Whatever. What would you say to those who suggest that you're acting a bit like a spoilt child?
I'd say I hate you, I hate you, I hate you.
But since the beginning of the war, you've been asking for everything from joining NATO, as you say, through to taking part in the Football World Cup.
So what?
Well, for one thing, you seem to be mixing sports with politics.
So what? I've mixed up all kinds of things before. When I was a comedian, I said I wanted to be president. Everybody laughed. Now I am president. And who's laughing now?
You're a big supporter of the Israeli regime. Doesn't it bother you to talk about human rights violations in that context?
Why should it? It's different.
Well, in what way is it different?
Because Israel's big friends with Washington.
And why does that make the situation different?
I don't know, but Biden said so.
If FIFA allowed you to be in the World Cup, would that be an end to your demands?
No, I'd also want to have the right people. Messi, Ronaldo, Neymar, and Mbappe. Oh, and Guardiola as the manager.
And would you then win the trophy?
So we wouldn't need to.
Why wouldn't you need to?
because everyone should let us win. It's only fair.
Anything else you'd like to add before we finish?
Yes, I also want money. This is my bank account number, please.
Okay, we'll leave it there. President Zelensky, thank you very much.
The account number is 6532.
President Zelensky there. Other crowdfunding campaigns are available. Now, one thought about the World Cup. Imagine if the Ukrainian players play just like the drone we saw. About as effective as an election rally speech by Joe Biden. That's all for this week. Join me again next time to see if Zelensky's still moaning at America, if Ukraine has scored any more own goals over the World Cup, and if Biden has actually worked out what happened in the midterm elections. That's all on Press TV with me, Len Potopic, and Cats and Dogs.